Hello and welcome back to Dream F1. This is already episode 3 and like always, let's start with the main stories going into today's race. Red Bull had a very disappointing start to the season with both of their drivers, and that after being labelled favourites for both titles ahead of the season. After the first two races, they're yet to finish on the podium. Lacking qualifying pace and wrong strategic decisions have Max Verstappen sitting 5th in the championship with his teammate Sergio Perez in 7th, even behind one of the Alpines. On the other hand, Charles Leclerc looks like the man to beat right now. Despite only being 3rd in the championship right now, he has pretty much dominated every session, if not for the little moment he had at Kyalami that dropped him to 10th, but unless something like that happens again, he looks like pretty much unbeatable right now. Can he keep that up for his home race in Monaco as well? And last but not least, we will ask ourselves the question whether the bad luck for STV Racing will continue today. Their drivers, especially ourselves, made their fair share of mistakes, but we had two results influenced heavily by events out of our control. An unlucky timed safety car at Kyalami that had us lose an entire lap, and a loose wheel in Imola that lost us an amazing P11. Looking at the most challenging Grand Prix of the season coming up, things don't look too well for the newcomers. And that most challenging GP of the season is also Formula 1's jewel in the crown. It is the race that people have heard of even if they do not care about motor racing at all. Today we'll see the Monaco Grand Prix. It is the shortest, tightest and slowest track of the calendar, and it remains pretty much unchanged since its first iteration. Today's 39 laps will demand a lot from our 24 competitors, as mistakes will be punished instantly. And now, without further ado, let's look at my fastest lap from qualifying yesterday. And let's see where this amazing lap has put us on the starting grid, and it was quite a pleasant result, but first things first, Charles Leclerc starts from pole position here in Monaco, Max Verstappen alongside him in 2nd. And then we have George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Sergio Perez, another disappointing qualifying for the 2nd Red Bull driver, and in 8th we see ourselves with an amazing effort we had there in qualifying yesterday. And we have to say this is quite the Monaco thing, so the grid order gets mixed up, and this is our great chance for a good result here going into the race from P8. Fernando Alonso starts behind us in 9th, and his teammate Esteban Ocon from 10th. And then we have Ricciardo, Gasly, Hülkenberg, Valtteri Bottas, Vettel, Schumacher, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, Nick de Vries, Kevin Magnussen, Kamui Kobayashi in 21st, our teammate. And then the final three are Alex Albon, Lance Stroll, disappointing qualifying from the Canadian yesterday, and alongside him in 24th and the last place we see Nicholas Latifi, his compatriot. Well, and here we are on the grid, and it is raining quite heavily, but nevertheless it's 5 red lights and it's lights out and away we go, and we don't have a delay in our start as we will be going racing despite the rain going into turn 1, Saint-Devote. it gets pretty tight there. Alonso makes it past ourselves, so we drop down into P9, and now through the Casino Square we go for the very first time. Of course it will be quite the treacherous affair here, because we don't know yet where there is lots of water, where the track is especially slippery and where it isn't. Now through the Louv's hairpin, this is the slowest part of the entire Formula 1 calendar, and we have an instant safety car in lap 1. This is no surprise actually. This is kinda the Monaco thing, so already we have to go slowly. Well, and after lap 2 we already have the restart out of Anthony Nose. It is quite a treacherous affair, so we didn't get the greatest of restarts, but ahead of us there is already well, the traffic going pretty slow as cars are very careful. Understandably, in these conditions I think it has even become wetter after the start, because there is some heavy rain coming down right now, as we ran a little wide there. And now into Mirabeau, we see cars going slowly through that bit. No one is trying any funny business into the Louv's hairpin, so we stay behind Alonso, who runs a little bit wide into the lower Mirabeau corner, and now through Portier. Maybe we can get a good exit. No, not at all. We rather have to look in our mirror, as there is Daniel Ricciardo trying to find a way past ourselves. The McLaren driver, or in general McLaren, also yet to finish an impressive result, as well. Best was Lando Norris 9th in South Africa. Now through Tabak, this part of the track is where I'm really struggling. Lots of water, very little grip, so we even had to let Alonso get away a little bit. But that has been lap 3 of the Monaco Grand Prix, and watch our mirrors once again. Daniel Ricciardo gets close on the pit straight, but he still has to stay behind as well. Something what is a difficult affair to overtake there. A little later, we are pretty close to Fernando Alonso once more, and we have a gap behind us to Daniel Ricciardo. This is lap 9, as you can see. We are close to Alonso, and this is the part of the track we are really a lot quicker than the experienced Spaniard, so he is struggling around that bit of the track. A good exit out of the tunnel, into the tunnel, sorry. Well, that wasn't that great, so we are a little too far away, but we lock our tires and we have to go for a move that we didn't even want to go for. At first, we make it past for a brief moment, as Alonso luckily saw us in our mirror. So he took evasive action and we let him through Nouvelle Chicane, now through the swimming pool bit here. This is still a bit of the track where I'm really struggling, but I think the rain, it hasn't stopped entirely, but it decreased in intensity. So maybe now the driving will get a little better, the track will get a little faster, and maybe there will be the crossover point coming on which we can switch on to Inters, but I don't think it's ready for that quite yet, as we are in the first sector, and of course until pretty much Nouvelle Chicane we are once again closing the gap that Alonso was able to create in the final sector, the part where we are really struggling. Everything that comes after Tabak, this is where we're really, really slow. And now another good exit. No, this one was even worse than the one in the lap before. And then we almost took out Alonso as we come very close to the wall there in the tunnel. And once again we slide on the brakes. That little downhill bit after the tunnel towards the chicane is really, really dangerous, as there is lots of water and you just come from the dry tunnel on back towards pretty much the wettest part of the track right now. As I think in the final sector, you can see it there. There is already a dry line building, so maybe the crossover point isn't that far away at all, as we start lap 11 of 39. Through Saint-Devote once more. I think it's already now back to a 2 seconds gap between Alonso and ourselves. Still sitting in 9th though, so we're still in the points. I think that is something we always have to keep in mind in that race, that it is just about finishing right now and to holding that position. But look at how slow Alonso is through there, and we see our chance as he takes a wide line towards Mirabeau-Bas, and now through Portier we actually managed to slip past. Now through the tunnel we didn't get the best of exits as we were on the much wetter part of the track, and we leave him space, but he turns in on us and spins us around right out of the tunnel. We hit the barrier there. The car is still fine, I think. We have to get into the pit lane for front ring repair, of course. And, well, yeah, no surprise that the safety car is out now. We have to let everyone through. This is really, really costly now. And so from 9th, we are back into last, and we have to make a pit stop in this lap. So our race quite unraveled here. Well, and into the pits we decided to go for the intermediate tires, so that maybe we can make up to that. Of course, the other cars are now way, way, way ahead, and we have to hope that we don't get lapped, so I don't even think we are able to close up to the back of the grid once more. But I hope that we have the better tires right now. And the first impression going up the hill towards the casino is that is working fine. And you can see the line getting drier and drier now in pretty much on every part of the track. So I think we are on the right tires right now, and maybe we can turn this misfortune into our advantage. Well, and here is a little proof. Here is proof that the intermediates are definitely the right choice. Now you can really see a dry path forming, which I'm afraid might even mean that we're not too far away from switching to slicks. But ahead of us we can see Mick Schumacher, who is currently 23rd in the first car we would overtake. But I'm showing you this here so you can see how much quicker the track is right now, and of course how much quicker the intermediate tires are. Now finally there is a drier patch ahead of the tunnel as well, and we are not struggling with grip on that dry part. Ooh. Yeah, the braking zone towards Nouvelle Chicane is still quite of an issue, but at least this is one of the few corners at this track where there's a little runoff, so if you misjudge it, you're still fine. You can just go straight on. As well, this is now us being pretty close to Mick Schumacher. Now we can almost read the back of his rear wing right now, as we are coming across the line once again. And now we decide to turn up our engine mode, or our ERS mode, a little bit, so that maybe we can attack Schumacher this lap, or maybe even the next one. But I think, oh, look how much we are gaining through here, these faster corners. This is where we're really getting close. Now through Mirabeau, we are pretty close. Louv's hairpin, we choose the outside, and we make it alongside Mick Schumacher, and we make it pass ahead of Portier, and now up into P23, and well, you were just able to see how much of an advantage we have on the intermediates. But I think the problem for us now is that we need to make a lot of overtakes right now, because the other cars are staying out on the full wets until it's slick time, and I don't think we're too far away from that either. So The advantage we had on the intermediate tires at least brought us back to the end of the grid, but yeah, I don't think that we will be able to get back into the points where we were ahead of and before Alonso took us out in the tunnel. I'm pretty sure he took us out. I didn't move towards the left and there was enough space for him, so yeah, I'm pretty confident that this was his mistake, but of course, if you think I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, as we are late on the brakes into Mirabone, make it past our teammate Kamui Kobayashi, and are now up into P22. Yeah, so anyway, it's still a long race, so I said like this is an ultimate well, fact that we won't be able to fight our way back up into the points, but it is, yeah, so much can happen, and especially in Monaco, where every mistake gets instantly punished. Yeah, this part here on the track, after Tabak, we are still struggling quite a lot. I don't know why this is the case though, because this is now, I think it is even the driest path of the track, as they're... Oh, and now they're coming in, so they are actually switching onto slicks, most of the cars right now. We move up into no, where are we? 14 now. There's a AlphaTauri coming out of the pit lane, so we are up into P30 now, but we of course have to pit in the next laps as well. And we're staying out for a little bit longer as we see another safety car. This now might help us. I was trying to see if the Inters can maybe keep up with the slicks for a couple laps longer, and this actually paid off, as now we can pit under safety car conditions and therefore might not drop towards the absolute back of the grid, so maybe we can even stay ahead of some drivers as we now switch onto soft tires to make it to the end of this race. Well, and we came out in 20th, so there was a big bunch of cars that just made it through when we were coming out of the pit lane. So a little unfortunate for us, as we even get an unfortunate spot for the restart there, the final corner. So Ricciardo is the McLaren ahead of us, was able to build quite the gap, even ahead of the finish line. But now up the hill, and I think now the track is totally dry, as the sun is even coming out now and drying every bit even off the racing line, as we are late on the brakes against Daniel Ricciardo through Mirabeau. Oh, now we make a little bit of contact with Esteban Ocon. I think it was Esteban Ocon, or was it Alonso? A little revenge foul from us, as we just made it past Daniel Ricciardo. Oh, and there is another crash. Sebastian Vettel now is out of the race, and we have the next safety car. Well, and at the end of the third safety car period, no, it's actually the fourth, we once again have not the best place to get back on the throttle, so Bottas also builds a little bit of a gap on the start-finish straight, as we are now going up the hill towards the casino once more. There is quite some racing action going on. So, who said you couldn't overtake in Monaco? So this is happening here, as we, like we did with Ricciardo, try to make it past Bottas. Once again, we make a little bit of contact with the wall. By the way, I turned down the damage a little bit compared to the other races, because, well, I think we only would have like 10 cars finishing here, and this is not, yeah, ourselves not included, of course. So I think this is fine for this race. I will turn it up for the next race again, but for now we are driving with a little bit reduced damage. But nevertheless, we have some racing action going on here, as now once again we have to defend from Daniel Ricciardo. as Bottas was able to build a gap on this part on the track. Now through Rascas and onto the final corner. Out of Anthony Nose we go, and we start our next lap. And through Saint-Devote we are now trying to get back towards Valtteri Bottas. We should be faster than any of these cars. We were able to finish in 8th, and we were able to keep up with the cars there, as well, of course the track was wet then, but it was dry as well in qualifying. As we just round the outside of the Lowe's hairpin, we managed to get alongside Valtteri Bottas, and now he has to back out of it, and we make it past into Poitiers and ahead of the tunnel against the Finn in his Alfa Romeo. He is still close towards Nouvelle Chicane. We managed to stay ahead. Ahead of us is now our teammate Kamui Kobayashi once again, as Bottas gets a good exit, but can't make a move into the back. Well, and we are in the last couple of laps of this race. Kamui Kobayashi is still the car ahead of us, and we can go faster, so we are searching for a way past. And for what happens now, I'm very sorry. I'm a little eager there. Put him a little bit into the wall there, then think I can slip through, and we make contact for a second time, and therefore he even loses a spot to Valtteri Bottas, who slips through as well. But, well, not the cleanest driving of us, actually very dirty driving of us there, but it brought us up into P16. And as we come around Rascas for the final time, we were able to stay in 16th for the final time around the final corner, and over the line we go, and we finish the Monaco Grand Prix in P16. And I think what is really remarkable and the most positive thing for us is the word we finished this race. So there was no technical issue, no crash, nothing that well ended our race early, and therefore we can now look at the results. And this race was won by Max Verstappen, so he becomes the third race winner in the third race from 3 different teams actually. George Russell, once again, Mr. Consistency, finishes in second, Lewis Hamilton third, so the Mercedes once again with a surprising result here. Carlos Sainz then fourth, Sergio Perez fifth, Charles Leclerc only sixth after starting from pole position. The reason for that was that Ferrari was caught out at the pit stops with the safety car, unlucky timing and everything, so he dropped from leading the race down to 6th. Then in 7th, best of the rest, is Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. And then great news for the Porsche team, Nick de Vries and Nico Hülkenberg both score the first points for their team, Nick de Vries even with the fastest laps. And bad news for ourselves, as Williams in this chaotic race, due to great strategy and keeping it cool, Nicholas Latifi and Alex Albon finish in 10th and 11th, and therefore they get a point for their team and our main rival, of course. Fernando Alonso then in 13th, Zhou Guanyu 14th, Mick Schumacher 15th, then ourselves in 16th, and then the rest is Bottas, Kobayashi, Ricciardo, Stroll, Norris, Gasly, and Vettel and Yuki Tsunoda were the non-finishers today. And for the Drivers' Championship, that means that George Russell is still in the lead, 7 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, his teammate. Verstappen moves up into 3rd, Sainz 4th, Charles Leclerc 5th. Another unlucky result, of course, for him. This time it was out of his control. Sergio Perez 6th. Then we have Alonso, Ocon, the Alpines clearly best of the rest so far. Nick de Vries enters in 9th. And then we have Tsunoda, Gasly, Norris, Hülkenberg, Zhou Guanyu and Nicholas Latifi, the final point scorers from P16 onwards. There are no points awarded yet. And yeah, ourselves now move up into 21st. Due to a best finish of 16th, and believe it or not, that puts us ahead of Kobayashi, Vettel and Ricciardo, who had a terrible start to this season. And the Constructors' Championship, let's look at that as well. Mercedes in the lead with 109 points, so their consistency really pays off. They may not have the fastest car, but their car and their drivers are very consistent so far. Ferrari then in second, equal on points with Red Bull. Alpine fourth, best of the rest by quite a margin. Fifth is AlphaTauri, then Porsche enters in sixth. And then we have McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Williams, Haas, Aston Martin and STV Racing in 12th. The last three teams haven't scored points yet. And that has been it for the Monaco Grand Prix in our 2022 Dream F1 season. I hope you enjoyed it, because I really did. I was really surprised at how enjoyable this Monaco race was for me. Yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to not miss anything. The next Dream F1 race will come next month, and it will be the Canadian Grand Prix at Montreal. I hope to see you all there, and until then, goodbye.